Let us all stand, those who can. Let us pause. Good Lord, we thank you for another day. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you, Father, for the wisdom and knowledge that you have given to this council, this mayor and council of Washington, Georgia. We thank you for the citizens who are concerned about their neighborhoods and how it develops. We ask your wisdom now as we take care of Washington business, that it all be done as you would have it to be done. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Councilman Fisher, would you lead us in pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Fisher. All right. So everybody's got their packets. Have you reviewed the minutes? If so, I need approval for the meeting minutes from last month.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Would you like
Motion by Color.
Like them? Good. Okay.
Motion by
Okay.
Councilman Color.
Motion by Councilman Color, second by.
Second by Councilman
All in favor?
Gunner.
Unanimous? All right. Approval of the meeting agenda? Need a motion and a second?
Motion.
Motion by
Councilman Mahoney.
One thing on it. Yeah, but wow, nothing wrong with the agenda, one with the, one of the agendas. But I'm good with it.
Okay, motion, second?
Second by
Second.
Councilman
Any
Fisher.
discussion? No? Okay, vote?
All in favor?
Humphrey? All right.
Unanimous.
Okay. Unanimous, okay. Public forum, all right, remember our rules of decorum for that public forum, please. I'm gonna read them real quick. Purpose of the rules of decorum is to foster an atmosphere of civil and courteous disclosure, even and especially when discussing contentious topics at all meetings held by the City of Washington. All public comments should be as follows. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes during the public comment period. Each speaker will direct his or her comments to the mayor or presiding officer and not to any of the other individuals. Each speaker will refrain from personal attacks, foul, or abusive language and will maintain a civil and courteous manner and tone. Members of the audience will respect the rights of others and will not create noise or other disturbances that will disrupt or disturb the meeting. Any violations of the rules of decorum may result in the violator being removed from the premises. Please, at this time, if you have your cell phones, turn them to silent. All right. First, the only person signed up is Archie Eckert. Come on up, Mr. Eckert.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I come before you on a request for some of the citizens of Washington, not all, because all doesn't know about it, but we have been putting it on Facebook, that we are trying to do an honor dinner for the twin angels, Sheila and Sharon, Miss Hill and Miss Barnett. They do so much for the city of Washington. They give out back to school, Easter, they give out the sodas, the fruits, and the different stuff down. And sometimes they do it on Whitehall, sometimes they do it in at Bible parking lot, which they got one coming up Wednesday. But we want to, as the citizens that putting this together, we got a committee. We want to see if the city would be able to donate 5 hours of the city time here at the Pope Center to be able to put this program on. And we would just ask the mayor and the council to please approve this. The only thing we need is the building. We just need it for 5 hours. You won't have to worry about no cleaning up, no nothing. We already have our own committees for all of this. So the only thing we need is the building, just to put the event on. And we just like this for y'all to just approve this for us. And so we can get.
What date is gonna be?
Oh, it's June the 2nd, from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Are you asking the city for a facility, or what are you asking the city to do?
Yeah, we just need the facility. We don't, we just need the facility for 5 hours. From 3 o'clock And it's not, it's nothing, it's gonna be like a Christian program, like no alcohol involved, nothing like that. Kids will be coming, so no alcohol, nothing like that. It's just to honor them for all that they do for the citizens of Washington. And they do for both, anybody that come, you call them if they got it. They haven't been here in 20, almost 30 years, but they still make a way to do for Wilkes County, for Washington, Georgia. They all.
So you're asking the facility, to my understanding, you know, if it's not already scheduled out, is available, but you're asking not only the facility, but to waive the fees
Yes.
for the facility?
Yes, sir.
And I think that'd be, I feel as though, and I hope we had that conversation, but also maybe a proclamation, if you would, you're spearheading this group, maybe the city could also do a proclamation of some kind to that note. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
All right.
All right. Council discussion topics. Councilman Anderson.
My one topic here is just listed as to primarily update the citizens of Washington, because those of you who are here in person, of course, can hear it. And then by virtue of the video and then the coverage from the newspaper, hopefully some of this would help get out the information to the citizens of Washington that I think many times goes kind of under advertised or under promoted. And there are just a lot of positive things that have been going on and are scheduled to be coming up pretty soon in Washington. I just want to take this opportunity to highlight a few of them. And increase the awareness to our whole citizens. And positive in the past month or so, one thing that the Chamber of Commerce has done and continues to do, and that is to promote the new businesses or expansion. And they do it with a once-a-month program. And we just had one with the ribbon cutting of a new coffee shop downtown, which was last Thursday. The month before was out at Palmer's Equipment, where they're expanding what they're doing into a big drone business for agriculture. And then next month, we'll end up with another ribbon cutting on a animal pet grooming business downtown. So I just want to put that awareness out there. And the Chamber of Commerce promotes this as part of our tourism and our economic development. And as some of our councilmen have said recently, we should all be in the economic development business because we all love and want to promote Washington, throughout Washington, not any particular district, just all for the greater good. And it's all open to the public. A lot of good things that falls into Councilman Mahoney's last month was talking about a commitment to a fit community, and there's a lot of dynamics of that, one of which is the Parks and Rec, and all the sports programs that the Parks and Rec fosters and has under their auspices, which ties in with the great sport programs we have in our school system, which have been doing really well this spring. And of course, we've got, usually in spring is track and softball and baseball and basketball just ended. But in Parks and Rec, we now have Little League going from April to the end of May, and soccer. They've got about 110 kids in soccer and about 98 or so signed up for Little League. So all that happens kind of sometimes out of the main spotlight, so I just wanted to highlight that. And then also, this summer that we should be seeing, if the contracts come through, and I'll defer to our city administrator on the exact dates, but a contract for one of the two parks there in District 1, the Simpson Park, with a complete new splash pad facility mainly for kids. And then also in Booker Park, and I'll defer on that but the council, our collective intention is to be able to open the pool as a functioning pool, but that has a lot of the conditions on that. You have to have certified and well-trained lifeguards, obviously, for the safety of all, from little kids, toddlers, all the way up to whatever age, that we have to have certified lifeguards. So I just want to take the opportunity to promote that in this particular public forum for discussion. And did I hit that right on the lifeguards? I know No, David may, certainly you were EMS and yeah, Macy was a lifeguard, so.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, the bottom line of what this is we're not closing swimming pools. The city council is doing, right now, Councilman Mahoney is spearheading an attempt to recruit, train, and employ lifeguards. And he's doing that with the full support of the council. We want the pool to be open. We would love to envision that as an aquatic center that would draw families to Washington. The task at hand, though, is lifeguarding. Lifeguarding is not something that is a class that you take, and if you do okay, you get to be a lifeguard. Most, if not all, lifeguard instructors would rather fail 10 students than have 10 that are kind of good, because we're talking about the life and safety of our children. So we are going to make every effort possible to find lifeguards so that we can open that pool. I know there was talk of filling it in. That's not going to happen. We're going to open that pool as soon as we get the lifeguards. And Councilman Mahoney is very adamant about finding those lifeguards, and he will have our support, and we will do that.
Yeah, and I'd just like to share that, I just thank the mayor and this body right here, you know, to really be so, just letting the community know that we're not trying to close down the swimming pool. You know, we're not gonna throw bad money after, good money after bad money. We're gonna try our best to find ways to make it happen. One thing I did talk with the mayor is maybe coming up with a contingency plan that we can go into the actual school system, start working with juniors and seniors, and start getting them involved, because your lifeguard certification is only gonna be for like 2 years. So we can start recruiting them early, we can find them early, we can go ahead and get them out employed. But, you know, we really want to create and break down barriers where we can bring the communities together, that we all can share and have fun and create a space of enjoyment for all of our communities. So I think Splash Pad will be a step in the right direction, and hopefully we can have those lifeguards. I think Greg has 2 that he's already had committed. He has, I want to say 3 more. I think River Hill has also found some that he also gave to Greg Wilkerson to kind of not weed out, but let them know what the conditions is. So that way, you know, they won't begin to think it's different lifeguard in a 5-foot deep pool, and you got to pass a lifeguard examination and CPR examination. So I think that we're well on our way to making it happen, and, you know, with Godspeed and commitments from our youth, and there's also going to be employment for our kids this summer as well. So we're looking forward to having it open. I think tentatively, I think, Jerry, when did you say the splash pad would be completed?
Well, if everything lines up perfectly, probably could open it in mid-June.
Mid-June. Cool. Hopefully we'll have the swimming pool open probably around about mid to the latter part of May.
We've continued on, if I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
We've continued on just as though the pool was going to be open until we decided about, is it 1 splash pad or 2? So we've continued, we've never veered from buying the chemicals, planning for the service of the pool as though it's going to open, but having that backup in our mind. But if it didn't, then we need to have a backup plan to that. But anyway, so the pool will be ready.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I forgot to mention, just a shout out to all the city workers and the community civic clubs for a very successful tour of homes last weekend. Of course, the weather was beautiful. We had a huge turnout, but it was kind of there again, under the radar a little bit. You had 4-H club students, you had the Kiwanis Club students from the high school that were supporting, you had Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, Women's Club primarily, and it was a great presentation of Washington as a great community. A lot of people from a lot of different places from out of town, so it was a lot of work went into that just to make sure that the city looked good and is a positive representation of the whole city, not just the 6 or 8 or 10 homes and churches that were on tour. One other thing with that is open within Parks and Rec this summer also, that's expanding, it's been a subject of some discussion before, is the boxing program and a wrestling program that goes year-round. It really is not constrained by seasons. That is alive and well and functioning, and is open to all citizens of Washington underneath the auspices of the Parks and Rec. So another thing that is a positive aspect and opportunity, especially within the arena of being a fit community. So, thank you, that's it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that? All right, Councilman Mahoney?
Yes, sir, Mayor, Council, we have, with us, Ms. LaTanya Goodwin. She's, with WorkSource. Last year she was petitioning the city to join in becoming the, fiscal agent. Since then, I think the the county of Warrenton has, been voted on becoming the fiscal agent. So what we will be proposing tonight is coming up with a Plan B. And basically, it would just say, I'm asking for a motion that the city of Washington become a candidate for the fiscal agent in the event an agreement is not signed and agreed to prior to May 1st, 2024.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second for us to become the local fiscal agent.
Candidate for fiscal agent.
Candidate
In
for
the
local
event-
fiscal agent for the WorkSource Georgia if Warren County falls through. Any further discussion, any discussion at all? Yes, sir.
Is Columbia County pulled out of this?
No, they still in it.
For sure. Okay, I kind of overheard that they may have, and then they do a lot of the funding, I mean, as far as.
Yeah, population-wise, they,
It would make a big difference if they pulled out.
yeah, well, they get the most amount of money, and because they service the more people, they also have the most liability as well.
Any further discussion?
I have just one
Yes, sir.
question, just in terms of procedural. So if we were a candidate, according to the motion you're making, if we were a candidate, are we in essence saying if Warren County is out, then we're automatically in?
No, so what normally happens is the Leo board has to vote on who becomes the fiscal agent, and it also has to be vetted by the state. The state want to make sure that whoever becomes the fiscal agent has also administered grants and understand how to handle grants, and doesn't have any findings or conflicts, for past grants that they have actually oversaw. So what'll happen is if by any means that Warren County, whatever reason they decide not to become a fiscal agent, then what we're saying is we're signing up saying, hey, we wouldn't mind being a fiscal agent, and also, but it still has to be voted on by the Leo board.
Would it have to come back before, I guess what I'm trying to imagine is if there were other counties, would it still come back here for another vote? If Warren County was out, would we be back here at the next meeting trying to vote?
No.
To officially be the agent?
No.
So this, okay.
So I spoke with I guess the city or county commissioner, John Graham, today, and he said it is with the lawyer at this point in time, and he did not have any negative feedback on that, so at this point in time. So I would say that if we needed to, we could do an emergency call meeting to vote, if you wanted to. Would that be the proper way to go? Because I would hate for us to say, yes, we can do this, but then Warren County find out or the state find out and say, wait a minute, that's a conflict of interest or.
Well, only thing we're saying is that, only thing what I'm asking is that, because see, what's going on now is we got a May 1st deadline that if something isn't being worked out, we're gonna have sanctions. And I didn't want to start raising all kind of red flags by having a executive session and start talking about lawsuits, but there could be some disallowed costs because right now we have a program that we don't have a fiscal agent in place. You got kids that can't go to college, they can't do their training. I had a person that wanted to become a truck driver. He can't even become a truck driver because their funds are being held up right now until a fiscal agent is in place. And they're working off the nonprofit side of their organization. So hopefully, these chief elected officials will go ahead and have a call meeting to go ahead and get this thing put to rest and get us back moving forward. But we're not gonna meet again before May 1st. So that's why I want to have this, because even if you have an emergency call meeting, and Ms. Goodwin, you can interrupt me at any point there, I veer off the wrong way. even though if Warrington doesn't become, whatever reason they want to become a fiscal agent, before we can even be qualified or deemed to, we still got to be vetted by the state. The state got to look at our past dealings with grants to make sure that we are a good fit as well. So the only thing I'm asking is that as a plan B, excuse me, to Warrington, and we champion with Warrington, we hope they go ahead and sign this fiscal agent agreement so we can get these funds released and get this audit done and get all these reservations that people have put to rest. But, it hasn't happened. And I don't want us to be sanctioned. And then first thing they say is, well, you guys are holding up the reason why an agreement hasn't been made. At least we can say, well, we was proactive with this. We saw this coming and we wanted to go ahead and get ahead of it by letting everybody know that in the event that Warrington doesn't become the fiscal agent, that we wouldn't mind becoming it. And we just actually is a plan B.
Mr. Mayor, can I have a follow-up question?
Yes.
The sanctions, when you just mentioned sanction, who would be the sanctioning body and who would they sanction?
The 9 counties that are part of the East Central Georgia Consortium.
So it would sanction the county? the
No, city and county.
City and county.
The only point, Mr. Mayor, I'd bring up that the motion would need to include contingent approval of the contract too. I think your motion was to place the city as a candidate for fiscal agent, but in order, I think, to fit the action you're trying to get to, you'd have to include that we would agree the form of the contract. Because it does have, in order to be the fiscal agent, the city would have to enter into this agreement. So I think that would have to be included in the motion as well. And contingency on contracts, you can do it, but obviously we want to make the record clear of when we're obligated and when we're not. And it would obviously have to also be the same form presented today. If Clio or Georgia were to make any changes to it, we'd have to come back and vote again.
Council Mayor, thank you. Also, when you look at the opportunity to be a fiscal agent, do we need to know the process? So if Warren County fall through, then we would not have to go back. Is there a process in terms of application process this particular time that we can start reviewing, or that our administrator can start reviewing those documents? So then if it fall through, we're kind of ahead of the wheel.
I know at our work session, I did mention that, that I had received the audit from 2022, and I emailed that to all of y'all in case you haven't checked your email, but just look at it. So that's one part of it, I think. But Councilman Mahoney, you want to go?
Yeah, and there's another audit, so, and there's been some more talk about another audit, which was the 2023 audit. That hasn't been done. Ms. Goodwin does the audit. Actually, Ms. Sonia Randall, she actually does, it's in a whole nother department. She does the actual audit, and she coordinates that with the actual auditor. I think some issues came up. I think she was dealing with some health issues that they couldn't have it in October. And that was October 25th was the last day that Lincoln County pulled from being the fiscal agent. Right. And that set the 90-day mark to actually closing it out for the new fiscal agent. But since then, when Ms. Randall came back and tried to schedule it with the auditor, he had then retired. Right. But then at that point, the 90 days had surpassed, and you don't have a fiscal agent in place, and the only way you can pay the auditor, it has to come from the WIOLA funds. Right. So now the money is frozen, you don't have a fiscal agent, people want the audit, and it ain't like you're not trying to do the audit, but the money got to come from the WIOLA funds, and once the fiscal agent in place, the money can be released to get the audit done, and you should cure everybody's reservations or answer any questions.
And I guess the last thing, Mr. Mayor, just so we or our city administrator would be clear, is there documents that he need to be looking at just in case we become that agent?
Yeah, so we started the process last year up under former Mayor Bill DeGoey. We sent out a copy of the MOU, we sent out a copy of except for contract, city administrator, we sent out another copy of
Okay.
a sample part of the MOU.
It's actually
The
in-
mayor shared every,
It's in your packets.
yeah,
It's in the package. Okay.
The mayor also shared, the, financials that you just
Yeah.
alluded to for, 2022, to kind of give you an idea. Based on the thing the fiscal agent is, because they can't sign their own paychecks.
I'm familiar with that. I'm clear on that, you know, what fiscal agent does. But just say that, you know, Warren County doesn't meet all the criteria. We don't want to wait another 3 months because there may be some documents that the administrator needs.
To your point, Councilman Hill, when Councilman Mahoney and I chatted about this last week, we went ahead and reached out to Mr. Goodman. And she did send through and these are versions, you might say, for Washington instead of Warrenton, right? So, but it's based on the Warrenton agreement. So we did include that, just so you've got some reading material.
Okay, okay.
Do we have any reasoning of why Lincoln County pulled out? I mean, was any homework done on why they got out of it?
Well,
For our benefit.
it's been a lot of fireballs, I would say, that's been going. One was, and then, well, it ain't just Warrenton, it ain't just Lincoln. Our county commissioner, Sam Moore, he has, been wanting to pull out of it, but you gotta remember, the county is regional commission. That's who deals with the county more so than we do. The only time we deal with the regional commission is when we actually looking for a grant or we've got some procurement stuff going on. But, and I think it was I think that if we got a tool in the toolbox to help our people locally, and we know that the regional commission took $250,000 out of our area and gave it to another regional commission and gonna charge more, I think it's like they charge 10% of the administrative fees, the grant fees, to actually overlook the program, these documents. And, you know, I just think that it's nothing broke. Ms. Goodwin has done a great job. They're always available. They know our people. But to your question, there was a lot of talk about the vehicle. What do they call it?
So we purchased a mobile unit, and the mobile unit, it's not traveling right now, but it was during COVID, it was right after COVID. And we had a grant, we get federal funds, that third year, if you don't spend those funds, you will lose those funds. And it doesn't go back to any of our local communities, it goes back to the federal, well, it goes back to the state, then the state has to send it back to the federal government. But these particular funds were not, it was more capacity building, they were not participant funds. So there is a local elected official board, and there's also a workforce board that is primarily made of private sector business owners. And they suggested that we purchase a mobile unit. I used to serve as the chair of that board before I became the director, and we've been talking about a mobile unit for a long time. We serve 9 counties in a rural area that not everyone has access to come to Thompson, Georgia. So we want to be able to get out and do outreach and bring that mobile unit to and that's what started the conversation. The local elected officials at that time felt as we did not need a mobile unit. However, the responsibility for determining the budget rests with the workforce board, and I acted upon the workforce board. We had, throughout all of this, we were audited by the state to see if there was anything done improper. It was not. So I think that just started that conversation. But we've had, during all this, we had our program, our financial audit. We were a low-risk entity. We had first one in the state that had ever had a clean zero audit from the state. No findings whatsoever. We received less funding than our county. We received less funding, but we served more people, more participants than the Region Commission with less funding. As a nonprofit, I was one of the first to ever go after additional funds we've just received some additional funds, and that's what we've been living off of. I mean, and really just paying the bills out, some additional funds as a nonprofit. We really truly need a fiscal agent, and I can tell you, Georgia is the only state in the nation that restricts the fiscal agent to be a city, county, or region commissioner. This workforce program is in all states and territories. Our neighbor in Florida, for instance, they don't have that restriction. Florida is able to amass millions of dollars, because they all are nonprofits down there. They're able to amass more money than what the federal government is and serve more people. And so this fiscal agent piece has really just crippled us. We were on a really good trajectory, working with Arthur Blank Foundation, working with, some other, just true foundations that would invest in our community. And we need these funds in our community. So I really appreciate your consideration in assisting WorkSource East Central Florida. This is my second career, as I explained to everyone and before. And it's not that we're making a lot of money. We try to invest everything back into this program. Washington has had the benefit of the program by one of our grants. I think we currently have someone that works full-time with you because of our programs and others. So, I mean, I can understand your concern, and I don't know why no one would not jump on this, because this is for our citizens, and this is free money from the government. Who gets free money from the government without a lot of red tape? So,
Mayor, I concur that definitely the program, and Administrator and I, 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we was in on the initial conversation, and had the meeting over at the county, and it turned out good. We have the employees that we was able to hire and have been good employees, and also from the nonprofit side, we was able during the COVID to do some things with some employees. So I think we should call for the vote. I'm all for it. I think we should do all we can, but I'm all for it.
Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
I admit I'm not an expert on any of this, but you've got, if I understand it correct, you've got the chief local elected officials, of which that's the county commissioners and the mayors of these 9 counties, is that right? And you guys, that entity votes on this. And right now, they've given the kind of the option to Warrenton to become the fiscal agent.
Yes.
And they've got to decide yes or no soon, or what? I don't quite understand that.
Yes, they have to take it back to their, I guess, since the county technically took over it instead of the city, they have to take it to the county. I spoke with John Graham today, the county commissioner for Warren County, and he said it's with his lawyer now, the contract is, so he is going to call me as soon as he hears anything and let me know, so we can kind of jump on the bandwagon if we need to, but, yeah.
And that started, excuse me, and I think John Graham, they came in February.
Yeah.
That's when they actually took lead to it in February. But they haven't signed the fiscal agent part.
Yeah, I actually was going to raise my hand and say we were interested, and Chris McCorkle, the mayor from Warrenton, jumped on it and said, nope, we want Warren County to have it, so they started the process then, so we have a, go ahead.
In this packet, has this been overcome? Because this says that Washington is, that you guys, the CLEOs, which you're one of them, voted to appoint the city of Washington.
Yes,
That did not happen.
That did not happen. That's for Warrenton. This is a sample of the contract that they gave Warrenton. I sent it to John Graham this morning. He verified it's the exact same contract. All it says is Warren County instead of Washington, or Warrenton instead of Washington. So, yeah. So this is just a sample of it. So.
And so I'm saying, we're one of 9 counties. Lincoln was one, Warren's one. So Lincoln had it for 10 years, just about.
Somewhere.
If I read this right, 2014,
yes, we had it
2024.
for 10 years.
And for whatever reasons, they decided not to do it anymore, right? So now it's up to another county or a city.
Right.
But Wilkes County doesn't want to do it?
Sam Moore does not want to do it, as when I talked to him, Sam.
And what's the scope of the amount of extra work it would be on our city financial manager, clerk, whatever. I don't know.
So I want to make sure you said what is
Yeah,
all about.
What's the kind of the scope of work, what's the additional work that the city of Washington employees, the guys, our financial clerk, our city clerk, what duties do they become responsible for, I guess?
So being a fiscal agent, and I did put that also in the packet, the roles of the fiscal agent, it's a pass-through entity. We actually perform all the work. We prepare the reports, we submit backup documentation. What we do also is that we fund you. If you want you want to hire someone else, or you want to increase the budget of your existing clerk, it's whatever you choose, we pay for you to be that administrative and fiscal agent. Those funds, we get 10% of admin funds, we go up to 5%. That's what we do. Now, that can always be negotiated, but we try to keep it level. We don't use all 10% for the fiscal agent, because we want more of that money going into to our participants. So what it looks like on a weekly, or it's not even weekly, it's every 2 weeks, we send in what our expenses have been, because this is a reimbursement grant. We send in our expenses through email. I actually set up a shared drive, so a fiscal agent has access to that shared drive. See all the documents that shows what the expenses and the reasons being. We have never had a financial finding, except for one time we had a financial finding. And that was due to bank reconciliation. In our policy, we had that Lincoln County will perform bank reconciliations. When the state came and audited us back in 21, it was discovered that Lincoln County was not doing the bank reconciliations. I thought that they were. That's why I created a shared drive, so we can have a clear form of communication, because I need to make sure that whatever you're doing, that you're actually are doing it. So we changed the policy so Lincoln County would not have to do any bank reconciliation. We try to take all the work off of the entity, because we want to make sure, this is federal dollars, we want to stay in business, this is our responsibility, so we want to make certain that everything is being done properly. So we remove that from policy. What you would have to do is that when we send in our drawdown request, that's what it is that we send it in to you by Monday. We try to have it 2 days before, so we can review all the documentation, and then you send it up to the state. Then from there, we have a separate bank account. We do not commingle those funds. The funds will come to Washington, Georgia, if you're the fiscal agent, and then Washington, Georgia would transfer those funds to us. We would have internal controllers, so we can see that the money came from the state, and then it would transfer it over to us. The other thing that you will have to do is that when there are grant awards that come from the state, you will execute the grant awards, because you are the fiscal agent. Lastly, and I'm going to tell you, we're being monitored right now, and I can tell you Lincoln County did not do this for us, but you have to monitor us. That's monitoring the programs and the finance piece. That's what you have to do. Now, if your budget is not above $750,000, and at the time Lincoln counties would not, it required them to have an independent audit. But we have paid for that independent audit. We are not trying to put any burden on any government whatsoever. And so what that has done is it helped employ someone else for Lincoln County, and I assume that it would do the same for Washington, for the city of Washington.
Any further discussion?
Well, I defer to our city administrator what he thinks about it. I'm just reading attachment A of the fiscal agent performing accounting and funds management. The city of Washington agrees to do, boom, 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 to accept on behalf all the grant funds, to disperse them, to ensure fiscal integrity, respond to any audit, maintain proper accounting. So, City Administrator had asked, does he see this as a, you know, what type of increase in the workload do you foresee it to be?
I don't, go back, what was it, 2 years? Was it a year and a half or so ago? I'm looking at Councilman Mahoney, when you and I and Ms. Goodwin met. And my only concerns now are the same concerns I had then, and we talked about them, and for the most part, you answered the questions I had. And that is what we're taking on to be the keeper of the finances. And I think, Macy, I think you and I even had kind of related this, that there's a parallel between this and what Ann Floyd does for us with CDBG, CHIP funds. And there's the side of me that appreciates that there's somebody, we may process checks, but I really like having somebody that's the grant administrator who follows the details of that. So that's the only part that gave me any nervousness. The funding itself, we're fine. And I think we did conclude at the time that it probably would warrant, I mean, it could easily be 50% of a bookkeeper's time tracking and following up. So I understand why they built in the earmark in the funding to pay whoever the local fiscal agent is. They're going to have commitments. I'll tell you the only part that really kind of makes me nervous is on the compliance and audit side. Would we, and this would be a question maybe for Adam to look into the contract, would we be held liable if we process payments for expenses that and find out later was disallowed under your grant, under the funding? Would we be held responsible, or does the responsibility rest just with WorkSource? Or those kind of things that when I think about just making sure that I'm protecting the members at this table, that whatever we take on, we could do our part as the fiscal agent, but I really don't want to be somebody's grant administrator. I don't mind being the fiscal agent at all.
Let me say this, Ms. Goodwin, how long have your organization been intact?
Actually, today is our anniversary. April the 8th of 2004, we became incorporated as a nonprofit. We've not had any disallowed costs. So allow me to share this with you. Regardless of whoever the fiscal agent is, even if you do not have a fiscal agent, and what is happening now is that we run a risk of liability. Federal law states that the chief local elected officials, each one of them, the 18, the 9 counties that we serve in, the 9 cities, are responsible for any disallowed costs. That is a federal agency requirement. That's USDOL. So regardless of whoever the fiscal agent is, had it been Lincoln County and there had been a disallowed cost, each chief local elected official, each county or city was responsible. What the agreement is now is based on your pro rata, based on your population. So of course, there's more people in the county than it is in the city of Washington. But still, if there's ever a disallowed cost, ultimately, you are the responsible entity. Now, what happens, practically, we've never had to do this, but we would first try to recoup those funds from the offending party. Then we also have board of directors and officers insurance. Third, that's why it's important for this nonprofit fund. These nonprofit funds that I have, they're discretionary. I was keeping them over in a pot just as a safeguard for if we ever were to have any disallowed costs until that money matched the amount of the federal dollars that we had. Then we would incorporate that also into our work. But we have federal dollars. So we would try to take care of it. Certainly, if we were the responsible party, we would take care of those disallowed costs. The last thing we want is for this to be a burden on any of our local elected officials. That's why it's important that we judiciously look at every single amount of expenses that come in. We have internal controls that we just not had this issue. We just hadn't.
And the reason why I asked for how long that your organization has been intact was to make the point. For 20 years, other cities have took on the responsibility of being the fiscal agent. I think it's time that we step up to the plate, that we live up to those same demands that we put on other people, saying that we want to bring economic development, we want to bring training, we want to bring workforce development to our community. And it's wrong for us to sit back and take a back seat and let everybody else do all the heavy lifting and we reap the benefits of it when we have a golden opportunity among us to set the tone to lead the way that we should be leading. And this grant being a fiscal agent, just like we do the CHIP grant, is they submit the receipt, they submit the receipts, we look at it, we draw the money down, and we approve it. So I don't see what's the big deal. We need to live up to what we should be doing at all times anyway. That's how I feel about it.
My question was, is it a big deal to the city administrator? Do you expect it to be an additional workload on your staff?
I don't have enough appreciation other than the mechanical points. It's hard to translate that into hours of work hours. So at this point, I've read through this in detail. We've met, we've talked. So conceptually, it's one thing to talk about it, but I don't have any way right now of quantifying the amount of time. So I guess I can't answer your question yes or no, because I can't quantify. I do understand why there's money. Basically, you're underwriting the cost of somebody else doing the bookkeeping. I get that. And so that's why it's there, because it is going to take somebody's time. What I don't have the feel for is in our house, kind of what you and I've talked about, Macy, is that 50% of one person's time or 70, whatever that amount is, that's the piece. I don't know how much of that time it is.
Well, I'm gonna double down on it because we have a financial director. We just hired an assistant to her. Now, I think, Councilman Andrew, last month, you were just talking about the work that's going on out there at, Redford Tent. Now, would it be sad for us to be sitting here talking about Redford Tent creating jobs, and here it is, we, arresting the people that can bring the training to Redford Tent for the people to be hired out there. I think that's double standards right there. You can't pick and choose where you want to leave. We got Redford Tent that's creating jobs, you just say for the high 65 people. We got Latanya with workforce development, who can partner with Redford Tent, get people trained in the community for a job. And then we sit here talking about how much time it's gonna take. And we got more city employees with more eyes on our financials than ever before.
And
In
remember,
addition
this
to
is a
that-
contingency plan, so this is just a contingency plan. Nothing's in place until we find out about Warren County. So I think we've had enough discussion on this. You got one thing?
Just one more thing, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think also when you look at what Ms. Latanya has stated, that the money are earmarked, some of those dollars are earmarked for us to hire a person to do that. And I think that parallel again to what some of our current people does, like Ann Floyd and so forth and so on. So that would be covered if there another 40-hour or 32-hour person is needed. That would be in place. And so I agree also. Especially in District 1, we are hurting. We don't have a community development person. One more thing, person that we don't have that we need, that we do not have. And so this is a golden opportunity for us that's gonna pay the salary of a person to come in and manage this. But I agree with our administrator. We wanna make sure that his load is not overbearing, and making sure of that, so.
So, Councilman Mahoney, with the help of legal, we restate your motion for us so we can get it down pat.
Yes, sir. Help me with that, Adam. What's gonna cure your
You have to
curiosity?
distill that down to one sentence now.
I was just gonna help you, I wasn't gonna.
Good.
But you're gonna put a date.
I think it has to be in place by May 1st, so.
So our agreement would be if they don't do it by May 1st.
Or just if they don't do it.
If it's, I think the city attorney is asking, if warrants don't have it done by May 1st.
Well, May 1st is our deadline, so you may want to move it up earlier than that, on May 1st. Because it needs to be signed by May 1st.
By May 1st.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't want to, I wouldn't want to wait until the last minute.
Right.
And the reason why this is so important, is just like Maceo had mentioned, is that the state has to look at this. The other documents, I'm sure that you guys have, your UEI number, your audits, those are the other documents, but getting people together to vote on something, because they need your council minutes as well. So do we want, today is April the 8th, midway, April 15th, April 19th? And that should give, surely it should not take an attorney on that.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to John Graham tomorrow and see what his timeline is, and tell him that we're gonna set a tentative date of April 19th, if that's what the council would like to say.
Mr. Mayor, what months do we not meet? Is it June, July?
July.
July? Okay.
So the proposed motion. Motion to approve proposed fiscal agent agreement with I'm gonna use an acronym, CLEO of LWDA, contingent on Warren County's failure to approve agreement by April 19th.
That's your motion? That's my
That's your
motion.
motion?
Second.
Second. All right, no further discussion. Let's call to a vote. All in favor? Is that a yes? 5, 6, okay, it's unanimous.
And I would just make sure that if it doesn't happen with Warren County, that you give notice to the city administrator, who then notices the council members.
Okay.
And if it does happen, let us know.
Yes.
Yep. John will call me as soon as he knows stuff too, I'm sure. All right, so moving right along, thank y'all. City administrator topics.
Hopefully, I have two very short, simple topics tonight, Mr. Mayor. One is recommendation to reappoint Casey Jackson to the Payroll Development Authority. He's already on there now. Term expires this month. Want to extend it for 3 more years.
Someone? Second.
Question.
Motion, second.
As I look at the Payroll Development Authority, there's no minorities on the Payroll Development Authority. I think, this has been a culture of this body to try to incorporate different boards, commissions, and authorities. I was hoping that the fire department was gonna make that happen. It didn't happen. And I think the Payroll Development Authority, we talked about minority businesses. This would be a great way for minority businesses to get involved with the business community of knowing what's going on in Washington. I think Casey has done a great job. He does a great job at farmers, and he's still farmers merchants right now, right? He used to be a farmer state man.
Not now.
But not, okay. I know he used to be. But I think that we just need to have either create another position, put a minority on there, or let's table Casey and see can we find another minority on the board.
Yeah, so the city only has one person other than myself on it, so. So discussion? Are there any qualifications for that person to be on the board? That we know of?
Generally, what you're looking at is your Payroll Development Authority, you're looking at a broad range of expertise you may have on there, somebody from the finance world, somebody from the construction world, somebody from the legal world, business owners, even in some cases, timberland owners and farmers. I do know that Casey's done a fantastic job on this authority. And I think it would be a huge loss to not appoint him to this. I hear what you're saying, Councilman. I think the burden's on all of us. We've talked about this before. Every time we have an opening somewhere, we really should do these, kind of all-call for these boards, commissions, and authorities.
Who creates the payroll of the government, bro? That's the county, right?
Yeah, it's really county-driven, but
Who
we
says-
contribute a couple members to it.
Who sets the number of members that serve?
That's in their constitution and bylaws, and it's chaired by the chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
I can go to Sam and ask him about an additional member if we need to, so, yeah. I mean, the city only has one, the county has one, so.
As I see on this payroll development authority, people that you just mentioned, Jitter's not, Tim will work and all that, so I don't see now why we can't replace Casey Jackson with a minority, so. I'm with Councilman Mahoney, we need to start speaking the truth about working together, so.
So,
I'm over here against
so do we table it?
table it. to
Bring it up
get-
next month?
I
Bring
say
it up next
table it,
month?
see, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah.
I say table it, meet with the county, see can they amend their bylaws to add another position on there if Casey's the one that they want to keep on the board, but I just think that, we gotta live up to what we say we're gonna do. And not that Casey should be the fall for it, but, a lot of these people that's on these boards has,
I've been on it for years.
they've been on there for
I
years.
think he has been on that for a while too.
Any comment, any discussion? Okay, we'll table it and bring it back next month. Table motion?
Yes.
We can table, who,
Motion to the table.
Second.
second, okay. Second. All right. Next,
All right, you have also a recommendation here to modify, amend our code so that we can create a more streamlined travel policy that we manage. You see there in the handout, the language that we would strike, and in blue, you'll see that we would add, council shall adopt written travel policies, city administrator will establish procedures for all those travel policy requests, reimbursements to ensure compliance with the policy set by council. So that's my recommendation.
all right, just a little background on this for the citizens is, under our current ordinances, that it only says we can attend one training per year. City councilmen need to attend more than one training per year, so we just want to amend that to where we're not violating our own ordinance. So that's basically where that came from. And it'll be set up to where we will continue to be good stewards of the citizens' money and the funds that you allow us to go travel on, but we do need the education in order to make these informed decisions. And I know that we are keeping track of every class attended, every mile driven, and every hotel stayed at. So just to let you know that we will be good stewards. Do I have a motion to approve?
Let me ask Administrator.
Yes, sir. Well, motion first.
Motion,
Yeah, vote second.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion?
Mr. Administrator, can you explain your interpretation of the word reimbursement? Request and
Can I
reimbursements
explain
to ensure?
my interpretation of reimbursement?
Yes. It is to my understanding for the previous training and so forth, that the city makes sure that hotels and reservations and all of that is done. So when you say reimbursement, are you saying that we, as those going to get training, pay for everything and then the city reimburse?
Those are the things that would come out of, when we set travel policies, and then we build out the procedures. That will have to happen at this table with all of us working together. If you ask me, if it's only me and only me, everybody pays for the travel and gets reimbursed after the fact. That's the way I've always done it my entire career. Travel for the government and in the private sector, but with the exception. Let's just say we've got GMA or the MEAC meeting. We may sit down and go ahead and make a block of registrations for, let's just say 5 out of 9, 5 out of 8, 5 out of 7, whatever, going to this particular meeting. And the base registration is $400 a person, and GMA is setting up the meeting. We would make that reservation for the council and pay for it up front on behalf of the council, right? But then you would travel down there, stay in your hotel, and at the end of it, bring all your receipts back and get reimbursed, right? But if it's a meeting where, and a lot of these are, as we know, the meals in the hotel, everything is built into it, just a flat conference fee. In most of those cases, we can send the check ahead. So we already know what it's gonna cost, we send the check ahead, so the council member is not out of pocket unless you had any incidentals. The part that we really need to get away from is, it's such common practice in these hotels. If we're in 4 different hotels, even next door to each other, and we're putting these rooms on the city credit card, they're gonna wanna see a card. When you walk up to that counter, they wanna see a card, even if we've already paid for the room. If you walk up there and Councilman Gunner shows up, they still want his card, just in case he orders room service or has some incident or breaks a lamp. They're gonna ask him for a card. But we only have the one card, so wherever I am or wherever that card is, that's where the card is. It can't be in 4 hotels at the same time. So I think that's the part that, we just have to work all this out. But in my view, the more of this we can bill out, we pay it with a city check, we send ahead of time the tax exempt form. We already know to the penny what the room's going to cost, so we've already cut the check. You go. And after then, you come back, turn in your mileage, and we cut a check for your mileage. And your incidentals and, that sort of thing. So, to me, that's the cleaner way to do it, but at the end of the day, that won't be my final call. I can tell you that's the way I would prefer we do it, from a bookkeeping and a clean accounting. But at the end of the day, it's what the 7 people at this table decide. I can make a recommendation, but you'll have to be the ones to vote that up or down.
So next week, we have GIG training down in Tifton, Georgia. So our hotel reservations have been made. We'll pick up our tax exempt forms.
Right.
They're in our boxes. Those of us who are going. We'll pay for our mileage down. We'll pay, keep track of your mileage. Then we'll come back, we'll put in those receipts for mileage and incidentals or things that, parking fees or anything like that. And then we'll get paid, kind of like we do with the new, anything greater than 60 miles, though, according to our policy, you can't stay overnight. You have to drive back and forth. So,
But as much as we're able to know ahead of time, let's just say we're going to a hotel that doesn't have any self-parking, right? That you have to use the hotel's mandating of deck parking, there's a fee built into the room of $20 a night for the parking. Then we want that on the bill too, so they give us the bill ahead of time. We'll cut the check and send you with that check, so it should cover room,
Right.
parking, everything.
Okay.
okay. So, you got any further discussion? Got a motion, second, discussion, call for a vote? All in favor? 3, 4, 5, 6, all right, unanimous. All opposed.
That's all my topics, Mr. Mayor.
I need to ask the administrator, we don't have the family connection.
No, we don't.
What's going on?
I did not get anything from them this time.
That's what we reported.
Right. I would ask too, if you don't mind too, as our representative to their board,
No, he's not on it anymore.
Yeah, Hill.
I'm on
could you
Would you find out?
make this
Yes.
point that it's a non-negotiable? We need that ahead of time.
Okay.
And I will say, I got to brag on Jerry Hackman of the county. He is spot on every Wednesday before the meeting. I have his report. That man has been, you can set your watch by him. We asked for it, and he's done a really good job of tracking these sheriff's office reports for us.
All right. Call for executive session?
We don't, I think,
Yeah, I want to ask the attorney something before we call for executive session. I gave out at the work session a copy of employment agreement. Did you get a copy of that?
I think that came from,
Came from you.
yeah, I think it came from our office.
Right. We're trying to find out whether one was signed or not.
Our office does not have a signed copy of that.
So what now?
Our office does not have a signed copy of that agreement.
Y'all do not have a signed copy?
For the city administrator.
Correct.
Yes,
Because
sir.
we had y'all to make it up, so we paid to do this contract, so who has the signed copy?
My understanding is the council never signed it, never entered into the agreement. What I would suggest do is to check the minutes around March of 2020, April of 2020. And I wasn't aware that it was ever approved. The contract's still there, so if the council wants to use it, they certainly can, but it's got to be voted on and agreed to by the parties. council.
So is the administrator working on any contract right now?
My understanding is no.
So he's just a regular employee?
Employment agreement there is none. When you say regular employee, the only thing I would suggest to you is the Code of Ordinances does set certain rules regarding that position. So he does have a little bit of a different role, but as far as the remaining provisions, yes.
Well, the role that was set in the ordinance book is not the role that they follow when they come up with this contract, because Sheriff Bailey was under the same 2-year contract, so we'll have a problem that the higher up don't have a signed contract, and nobody knows about the contract until I brought it up, so, yeah, let's go into executive session. I make a motion to go into executive session.
Got a motion? For second? Second. Folks, you can stay still. We're going to go into the conference room for executive session.